Mhm. Coming down. So it's supposed to be almost, but obviously not. I'll check that. Coming up shortly, we have the Bronx District Attorney will be joining us shortly. We have a great show coming up tonight that it's supposed to be inspiring, encouraging, and lifting. So stay tuned and feel free to share this program. Yes, so I think we have everything going other than that one. Don't know why it's not giving you that on there. Okay, so get ready because what we can do here is give it to you. It's possible. We coming to you shortly. It's going to be an interesting show, so get ready to hear from the expert, um, Dennis Mohammed, our Bronx District Attorney, Honorable Darcel Clark. We're also going to hear from one of our peacemakers, and his name is Dennis Mohammed. And I can't tell you how much this show need to be shared and tuned in to listen to. So get ready for 9 p.m. where we're going to take you into the world of where everyone is talking about tonight. Good night, Janice Martin. How are you doing? Try reaching out to you, but you're so difficult to get. I don't know why, but I've been trying to reach you. But tonight we are going to be joined by our Bronx District Attorney, the Honorable Darcel Clark, and We just hope that we can have peace after tonight, and we can show that justice will be served and should be served, because I am not going to start the show, not tonight. But we're going to hear from the experts tonight, and we're going straight into the courtroom right here on the Afro Show. So get ready for Peace Talk. So thank you, Janice, for tuning in. And as I said, I have been trying to reach you. I can't find it. Can't do that. It's impossible to do. But we will have that one coming up in just a few. Okay. The boss man is in town. I'm getting ready. I'm just gonna let you get yourself situated, man. Look like you have on your peace cap, Captain D.
How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing great. Look like you're wearing that peace cap. Is that the cap? Is that
No,
the
no, this
cap?
Cavaliers. I'm
Oh,
Ohio.
you
This
see,
is
when
the
you could tell a woman who don't know sports, huh?
yeah, this is the Cavaliers. I'm in Ohio. You know I got to go with the Cavaliers.
Go with the
Now,
flow. Go.
now if I was in New York, I had my New York hat on. You know
Okay, well, you know what? I don't have one on. I think I got to get a New York hat and impress you next time. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. And we're getting ready tonight for some peace talk.
we looking forward to it, sis. We really are.
Yes, we deserve peace.
That's right. That's right.
Hmm. So how is it where you are?
Well, we in the very city I live in is the capital of Ohio, Columbus. Um, the homicide rate is already up to 53. It is the highest it's been in many, many years. And so we are addressing the same issues that is all around the country. The pandemic is making a rebound in Ohio. It's almost like history is repeating itself.
It is the world is have lost its flavor. That's what I said. The world have lost its flavor,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
we can get it back. It's like losing your taste and getting your taste back.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Well, we're going to be joined by our Bronx District Attorney shortly, and Attorney Hugh Campbell, and the show will get started. And to everyone who tuned in already, we thank you so much. And I'm just looking forward to hearing tonight from yourself, the DA, and I know the Attorney Hugh Campbell with the law, and me with the silence tonight.
Oh, you gonna be silent?
I'm going to
You
be silent for a minute.
all right. I find that very difficult to believe, but it's okay. All right.
But I'll try. I'll try. I'll try. Yeah. Let me see if I can share our responses for a minute and thank them. I have to thank those who stand with me. Best Deal Car Service, Teddy Nissan, and the Bronx, the place where everyone is going crazy over the 21 Rogue that is put in the city. So I want to thank them, and let's see, we have okay, so we got to see, we have a message coming in, and see who is. Okay, so right now we know we're getting ready to talk about this case tonight, Venice. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh,
I
okay,
was
great,
on
great,
mute.
great. Yeah, so in the meantime, while we wait for the DA and we wait for Attorney Hugh Campbell, I'm just trying to calm myself down because watching the news and watching the story and just seeing the way it's going, some people already doubting that we're not going to get justice tonight. Uh-oh.
Is that what they believe?
Well, when you hear folks say they believe that we're not going to get justice tonight, it just make me think on why anyone will think that a case like this, we're not going to get justice, then something is wrong.
Well, I just think it would be a gross injustice for them to give them and give us justice. Um,
Absolutely.
today, you pay a heavy price for injustice. Look at the price that this city is paying. They paid the family $27 million. Where do you think that money came from? Taxpayers' dollars. They paying for the city to arm itself with fences, barbed wire fences, and extra police detail and National Guard and all that overtime. Who do you think is paying for that? The taxpayers, me and you. All because of one police officer who choose to ignore his training. This one cop have cost the city so many millions of dollars. And if they don't convict him on that alone, they should be mad at what he cost them. Darn charges. The people should be upset. Do you know how much it costs us for your app here, disrespectful, murderous behavior? All the riots and the stores burned down, the $27 million we had to give the family, all the extra policing. Oh my God, that alone, you go to penitentiary forever and a day.
Dwayne Beckford, good evening to you. And that's what we are talking about. So get ready because we are going to be joined. We're here and we're absolutely joined by our Bronx District Attorney, the Honorable Darcel Clark, and Captain D, Dennis Mohammed, who is here with us all the way from, where are you, Dennis? Sometimes I got to wonder where you.
Columbus, Ohio.
All
The
right,
Buckeye
so
State.
okay, we're going to hear from you tonight. What's going on down there, and how you can tell us about your piece. And I don't know how the DA does it, but I'm going to give her time to settle in because I don't know how she does it. But I have to share with you, Dennis. Yesterday she was really out and doing what she was doing, and sometimes I wonder. There she is. Let's see if we could. There she go. Yesterday. There she go yesterday, trying to bring
Yeah.
peace to the Bronx. Okay, so tonight we're here and we just hope that we can capture the people that need to hear this show. And to everyone who tuned in, we thank you so far. And good evening, Honorable Darcel Clark. We're going to let you settle in. And if you even want some water, we allow you to drink some water before you start.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm running like crazy. Got to do stuff at home, settling for work. So, but I promise you, and as always, when you ask, I come. You know?
Thank you. And I last night I sit down, I said, God, I can't do nothing but just pray for you because I don't know how you do it. And I know when it comes to you being the DA and everything that's going on, everybody's pointing the finger. They want to hear from the DA. They want to know what the DA doing about this. And we just want to go right into the program. We're joined by our peace initiative, Dennis Mohammed here, and all the way in Ohio, but I know Dennis gonna, tell us some of the things that he been doing to bring peace in his neck of the world, that we can learn something from you. And we're going to hear from the Darcel Clark, our Bronx District Attorney, telling us how, I mean, working with the community to get this done, because, you know, everybody's glued to their television tonight. So we just got to hear from you, and introduce yourself again. Everybody know who's the DA, our DA.
How are you? Thank you so much, Ava. I am Darcel Clark, the Bronx District Attorney. I've been in office now 5.5 years. I was a judge for 16 years before that, and assistant district attorney in the very office that I am now the DA of. I was there for 13 years. So I have almost 35 years of experience in the criminal justice system. Um, you know, I've been on this show over and over and over, so I'm gonna, stay focused on the message that I have for this evening, which is we're all waiting with bated breath for this verdict out of Minneapolis on the trial of David Chauvin, the former police officer who murdered George Floyd. And as a prosecutor, you know that, if I were presenting that case, my argument to that jury would have been, come back with the verdict that only you can see based on the evidence. And the evidence to me was overwhelming in the case, and that would be for a guilty verdict. But what's more important as a prosecutor, you want to just make sure that justice is done. So first and foremost, I want to ask for justice for the George Floyd family, to make sure that, his dying was not in vain. So that's what we want first and foremost. And hopefully we will get there. The jury's deliberating now. We'll see how long it takes them to come back. But after that, we want to ask for peace, regardless of what the verdict is, because we're talking about going back in our community. We saw the trauma. We suffered the trauma that we saw happen to George Floyd. And that is not, it's been a lot of George Floyds in America. He is not the only one. But that is the one now in present history that we all witness. America witnessed that, A lot of times they make it seem like, oh, Black people are overreaction. The whole world saw that. You have police officers that are saying, I don't see how he could get off. That's not what we do. And, and it's good for them to say that. They need to recognize that that was wrong, and that they should be doing the right thing when they're out there doing their job. And I can say this because I'm married to a police officer. My husband is a detective. He's an NYPD detective. He's been on the job 39 years. Okay, I got the real law and order in my house, and I live with a man that knows how to do policing right. So, I understand it. And what we saw was not right. So we want justice and accountability for George Floyd. But then we need to prepare our community, because you know what? We all always get the result that we want, or the result that we deserve, or the result that is justice. So I want our community to be ready. We have a right to be angry. We have a right to be angry at what we saw, and we have a right to have justice. But in the event that it doesn't come, we need to know that the answer is not tearing up our own community. That is not the right thing to do. I mean, we're only hurting ourselves when we do that. So I'm asking for peace. So I have convened the key stakeholders in our community, businesses, community-based organization, our youth, the clergy, everybody involved, the Cure Violence organizations together to say, look, let's pray and hope for justice, but regardless of the result, we want peace. So we held a number of events to start pushing out that message so we could be prepared for that. We had yesterday, you showed a clip of it yesterday, the Bronx Clergy Task Force called that meeting together, and dozens of clergy came out, as well as our seniors and our community members and our youth, to come out, and the police to come out and say, we want to have peace, that we're not going to tear up our community, that we're not going to hurt each other, and we're not going to hurt the police or try to hurt them so that they are going to be heavy-handed and hurt us. We want people to be able to exercise their constitutional First Amendment right to protest. I stand in favor of that. And I told the police that they are there to protect people, to make sure they have a right to do that. So that's what we've been doing. We're planning events for the day the verdict comes out for people to have safe places and spaces to go to experience whatever it is they're going to experience, because you can't tell people what to feel. I can't tell people what to feel, but I can tell them, regardless of what you feel, here is a safe place for you to do it, to exercise your right. And we have a number of events that are going to be happening the day of the verdict. Churches are going to open their doors. Community-based organizations, youth centers are going to stay open 24 hours so our young people can go there. We're going to have food and gangs and games and just, a place where they can talk and vent and do whatever it is without people getting hurt by the police. We don't need the police to be involved in our purposeful protests. Okay. And as long as we do it peacefully, we should be fine. So that's the message that I'm putting out today. I'm waiting for that verdict. I'm praying for justice, but I also want peace.
What do you have to say, Captain D?
But first and foremost, I didn't know she was married. I was getting ready to shoot her my number. But, I don't need that brother with that gun. With that gun knocking on my door, talking about he got a warrant for my arrest. No, sister, I am very honored to meet you. I am so proud of your strong conviction. The sad thing, this is the first time, DA, this is the first time, ma'am, that we had a friend as a prosecutor in Minneapolis. Normally, we on the other side of the prosecutor. But this is the first time that we could see a friendly face who's fighting in behalf of justice for George Floyd and us. And I think the prosecutor team have done a remarkable job in making it very easy, at least we think, making it very easy for them to come up with a verdict. The sad part, how come we have to plan for worst case scenario? How come we couldn't be putting up banners and fireworks because we already know we getting ready to celebrate a conviction? How come we not going that route?
Well, I'm going that route too, because I'm hoping that that's what we're going to be. I don't want them to get too excited, I know. Carrying on, drinking, celebrating. 4th of July, people pull their guns out, pop, New Year's Eve. They celebrating, but that also brings problems. Yeah, so I'm prepared for either way.
I feel you, but all around the country, I'm glad you have that spirit, but unfortunately, ma'am, that's not the spirit around the country. They're planning for worst case scenario, even though to us, it's overwhelming, evident that we just witnessed a murder. Now, where do we go from here? If we don't get, or we get a conviction and it's not to our liking, I like what you say. You right, sister. Why do we have to always act in a way that destroy our community? But in reality, in certain cities, sister, if the truth be told, majority of the businesses that's in our community is not our businesses. But even though it's crazy to burn down the only supermarket in your neighborhood, that don't make sense.
And I don't care who owns it. And look, for me, I don't care who owns it. If I can't go to the corner supermarket because it got burned down during this, it don't matter who owns it. I don't have no supermarket.
CVS store where your grandmama needed medicine, you burn it down, you burn up.
Right.
It don't make sense. Now, however, I'm tired of us being a reactive and responsive community. The sad part, sister, is that the Black community do no longer have Black leaders. We have crisis managers. The only time we see Black leadership is when there are crises. New York is a little different animal. I lived in New York for 20 years. I love New York. I love the great work that Erica Ford and the Cure of Violence and the 22. I love it. I love it. You won't find that nowhere in the country. I don't want to put New York in a category. I train. This is what I do, sir. I train law enforcement. I train, when I was in Harlem, I trained the 3-2, the 2-3, the 2-8. I trained many of those precincts in sensitivity because I was the captain over the Fruit of Islam under the minister in New York between 1991 and 2000. Matter of fact, my great friend that I talk to every day, and he's suffering right now from bladder cancer, is the former chief of patrol, Bill Moran. And I talked to my friend, Chief Escovello. These were chief of patrol who the sister who the chief of patrol, they know these gentlemen. The task that we have, and in my personal opinion, is what we're going to do afterwards. Okay, so what? Say we got a conviction. Say we got everything we want. Will it change the way of law enforcement treatment to its citizens? Will it change their behavior? We're crying for now, sis, police reform. But your husband is a police officer, a detective, and if he told you that the majority of the rank and file cops, they don't believe they need reform. You know what they believe? They believe, why don't you reform no Negroes? That's what we reform. Why don't you teach them that when we come and tell them to do something, they need to comply? That's the majority of the mindset of those in law enforcement. And the only reason we're talking about police reform is because the mayor's crying for it, the politicians crying for it. But if you listen to the rank and file cop, he got all the training in the world. But if you don't train the people that we go into the community to learn how to respect our authority, if you don't give the same equal amount of training to them that you give to us, then we're not doing nothing but blowing gas in the wind. And I think it's only fair for men like your husband, the good police officer, who is so quiet right now. We don't never hear from the good officer. Because you know why? That blue wall of silence is very, very real. Those three officers that was following the command of that senior officer, Chauvin, was afraid to step in because they did not want to go back to the precinct and be called a do-gooder. Go back to the precinct to be called a rat. So they stood down when they absolutely, and I believe in my humble opinion, believe they really, really want to intervene. So we have to talk about that. What are we going to do afterwards so that we would not see this be repeated, and repeated again?
Well, let me ask now. So today we are watching the story, and we are joined here by attorney Hugh Campbell, the man with the bow tie for the law. So, attorney Hugh Campbell, I know you're glued to your television just like all of us, and as I'm looking at the district attorney, and as I told you, Dorsel, I had to bring my cup with me. I had to bring my cup with me. We have to drink water until the DA get her water. Attorney Hugh Campbell, what do you have to say about this case right now? And so far, what have you seen that make you believe that we are going to get what the people need? And even if we get it, do you think we're still going to have to go out there and ask them to just bring peace to the community? Or are we just going to be celebrating?
Well, I think, well, first of all, I have not actually been watching it at that level because I'm working diligently trying to take care of my day-to-day clients. But in any event, I think, you know, as the DA said, one or two things can occur. If the verdict comes in and is not favorable, then one thing will occur. If it comes in and it is favorable, then the same thing could occur because, as she mentioned, sometimes when you haven't won, the playoff for 20 years and all of a sudden you just kind of eke through, everyone is so jubilant, they start going through the city and honking horns and, just, climbing the poles, just doing crazy stuff. So you might get that response because we are so happy that finally someone is convicted. One thing I will admit, however, is that I have not actually, because I have watched the bits and pieces of the trial and I've watched the attorney with the witnesses, but what I've not seen are the jurors. I've actually not been able to view the jurors as the case.
They're not showing the jurors. They're not
right,
showing
as the case was being presented. And I think that would have given me a much better feed as to how they're responding, how they're absorbing the evidence that's presented to them. So it's kind of hard when you're hearing stuff, but you're not feeling the jurors, because that's really what it's going to come down to. And it goes back to one of the things that we have always said before, and I think the captain said, when you try cases, many times you need jurors of your peers. And what happens a lot, and I know in New York City, for example, what happens a lot is that when the police officers are charged, they always waive a jury. So when they waive the jury, they go straight to the judge. So you have one person that's making the determination as opposed to a jury from the community who is making that determination as to whether or not that person would be guilty or not guilty. So probably that's something that, and the DA can comment on it. I guess everyone has a right to a trial by jury, or they can waive the jury if they want. But I think that's what happens very frequently, is that these officers waive the jury, and that has a significant impact on the outcome of the case.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, having presided over, hundreds of trials and having been the finder of fact and during trials as well, when people waive the jury and the judge does the bench trial, it's different dynamics on both. And I think that it's important that we didn't see the jury here, so you can't read them as well. But I've sat and waited for juries to come back. And that's why, I'm concerned, because so many things come about. You don't know if they were listening to everything. They get caught up on so many different things. You'll just never know. We'll get a sense of what they're thinking if they don't come back right away and they start sending notes to the court that they want to hear certain evidence over, or, different things like that. So you can say, oh, maybe they're leaning this way. Maybe you still can't figure it out, even from those jury notes. We just have to anxiously just wait for them to come back. And as the captain said, I think the prosecution, did an outstanding job. But of course, I'm a little biased. I'm a prosecutor, but I know the type of prosecutor I am. I'm not going to overcharge. I want the charges that deserve to be charged to be charged. That's what happened here. That's what went to the jury when that prosecution team presented their evidence. They presented all the evidence that they believe would be enough for a jury to find the verdict that they want on each of those charges. So, again, we have to wait and see. The defense, I mean, they had to do something, it was, that you would think that the evidence speaks for itself as videotapes, but those witnesses were so compelling. And then even when the defense put on their witnesses, the prosecution found a way to get them to even say things that was helpful to their case. So, but all of that being said, still gotta wait for the jury. Still gotta.
I'd like to ask the DA something. You're most qualified to answer this. Now, did they ever, you think, offer him a plea deal, or when do they offer plea deals so it wouldn't go to trial? Did you think they ever offered him one?
No, I think they probably had plea discussions, but I think that with this case, the prosecution was like coming in very high. It's like, no, you need to just go to trial. This has to be tried. Now the judge it depends on different jurisdictions. Now in New York, you're charged with certain things. The DA, in order to give a plea deal, will reduce the charges. So let's say the top charge in New York, the top charge here would have been murder in the second degree. That's the highest charge. But if the DA wanted to offer him something, they could have offered, a manslaughter, because the murder charge in New York has a life at the end. So it's the minimum is 15 years in jail. The maximum is life. So it's always life at the end. If they wanted to offer him a plea deal, manslaughter in the first degree is a lower level. That is anywhere from 5 to 25 years in jail. No life on the end. So they can say, look, we'll offer you 25 years, take life off the table. So to some, that's not enough. They would want him to get life in prison. But if you wanted to avoid the trial and everything else, the DA, before the trial started, could have offered something like that. I don't know what happened in Minnesota, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. He didn't take a plea, and we're waiting for the jury. But that's how it usually works. Mm-hmm.
I have a question for the DA.
You mean the attorney having a question?
Yes, I do. Because this is something that's been bothering me, and you're going to take off your DA hat and put on your appellate judge hat.
Okay.
Because one of the things that kind of concerned me was when, they had the second shooting and the attorney had asked the judge to sequester the jury, and the judge says, no, we must proceed. Now, what concerns me is that can they use that at a later date to say that was reversible error on the basis that the jury may have been prejudiced by some of that protest that was going on, because that kind of it has not sat well with me, because I'm very concerned that some appellate court might come back and say, well, you should have sequestered the jury, because you didn't, let's do a do-over. And in a do-over is always harder.
Right. I appreciate that question, because I thought the same thing. And when this all happened, I took off my DA hat and put back on my judicial robe and said, what would I have done? Now, I've been a trial judge in a situation like that, trying an actual case like that and having that application before me. And I've been on the appellate court where once the conviction happens and the defense appeals, that may be an issue. For me, as a trial judge, I could talk about this now that it's over. I would have sequestered them when that happened. I would have. Just to preserve the integrity of all the work that have been put into it. I would have. Okay.
Can I ask this question? Can I ask this question? This anyone on the panel. Do y'all feel that the judge that's presiding on this case is a little biased? Is y'all picking that up at all? See, we can get judged by the jury of our peers, but they don't say nothing about judges.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the ruling.
Go ahead.
And I was going to say, in my opinion, just what I saw, the ruling was not that bad. Only that one ruling that he made that really concerned me, because that can ultimately affect the outcome.
Well, I think also that if you look at the appellate issue on this, if there is a conviction, and if I was on that appellate bench, that means here in New York, 5 judges would hear that. To me, there's something that's called harmless error. And to me, the evidence is so overwhelming in this case that even if that judge made a mistake by not sequestering them, I think it would be, to me, harmless error. But I don't get to decide that, so I can just give what my opinion is now. I'm not a judge anymore. I would think it was harmless error because the evidence was so overwhelming. Like the jury had everything they need before Dante Wright was killed. You know what I mean? And the jury is always instructed that they are supposed to listen to only the evidence in this case. The evidence is the only stuff that is in that courtroom, nowhere else. But you can't stop people from listening in TV, and they got cell phones, and I guess they take their cell phones away while they're in court, things of that nature. So, I mean, if I were a trial judge, I think I might have, people have asked me, and I said I might have sequestered them then just to preserve the integrity. But I think that even if it comes back to conviction, that will be one of the appellate issues. But to me, with the overwhelming evidence, I don't think that the jury necessarily is influenced by that, because they had enough evidence in this trial to convict him just on simply what they heard here.
Okay.
Let me ask a question to the DA. Do you think the young people understand, exactly what we're talking about, or they just basically looking to hear guilty? I think the young people that's out there, they just want to hear he was found guilty. Some people say he need life, he should be sentenced to life. This is what the young people are talking about. But I don't think they understand. And as I said to one young man today, it's funny, when we talk, he said, "Oh, and how is your friend, the DA? She coming back to take more guns?" You remember the young man when you did
Yeah,
the gun
yeah.
buyback? And he said, "But I'll be very honest with you. We just want a verdict to say that this man is going to rot in hell." So this is what they're looking for. And as I said to him, "Have you ever been a juror?" And he said, "No, I don't like it because," and I said, "There you go. This is something lacking in our community, that young people are not taking this thing serious, what it is to be a juror." As the attorney Hugh Campbell says, when we're looking to see who is the jurors. But most of these young people don't understand the importance of sitting and being on a case, sitting in and being a juror. And I seen my people. Because now that you're looking at this story with George Floyd, we are so concerned about who the jurors are. And a lot of people will say, "What is the DA doing about this?" And I hope the DA make sure the DA, they don't understand how these cases are acted out. They're just waiting to hear the verdict to either go crazy or to shout hallelujah. So, as when he asked me today, "Are we going to hear that tonight? We want this tonight." And this is the question.
No, and I get that. And it's not only young people, it's adults, it's everybody. A lot of people don't understand the criminal justice system. This is basic civics that we learned a long time ago, and people don't really remember it. And I think we as prosecutors, need to do a better job in explaining to the public what it is we do and what we're responsible for. Because I got to tell you, I'm blamed for all kinds of stuff that's not my job, but I understand where they're coming from because it's the lack of information. So even as I'm planning, these events for us to be ready for whatever the verdict is and stuff like that, people are asking, "Well, what time is the verdict going to happen?"
Yes.
And it's like, no, you have to wait until the jury decides.
That's right.
You're like, "Well, how long is it going to take them?" It takes them as long as it takes for them to go through the evidence. Because see, the role of the jury, they are the finders of facts. They are the ones that, based on all the evidence that's presented, they come up with a picture of what happened. That's their job, to figure out what happened. And then what happens is that the judge, of course, is the judge of the law. And what happens is that the judge gives them the law that applies to the case. And then the jury's job is to look at the facts that they come up with, put that together with the law that the court gave them, put them together, and then make their decision. So that's what makes it difficult, because you could come up, okay, we believe this is what happened, but is what happened enough to meet, what the law says that the DA has to prove in order to find somebody guilty? So that's why it takes some time. It's not that easy. They got to really discuss it. And then you got 12 people there from all walks of life who, are there to do their civic duty. But they all come with their own personal lived experiences. So when you add that to them figuring out the facts, them understanding the law, and then using their lived experience, the common sense, that's going to take a while. And that's what people need to understand. So people, somebody said, "Oh, they'll be back in a half an hour." I was like, I know a lot of jury. They're not coming back in a half an hour. There was 38 witnesses for the DA. There was some 10 witnesses for the defense. All that medical evidence and everything else. They may have a sense in their mind where they want to go, but not everybody's going to be 100% when they sit down and vote for the first time. There's people in there that are saying not guilty, and there's people in there that are saying guilty right now. And they got to convince each other because the verdict has to be unanimous. That's the other thing that people don't understand. They think that, well, if it's 7-5, then 7 wins because they got more people. No, it has to be unanimous. Each and every juror has to vote the same way. They have to come to the same conclusion.
Do you think them giving the jurors 3 charges makes it more complicated than if they were given 2?
No, it doesn't matter because a lot of it is similar, and you still got to use the same facts to apply it to the law. But giving them several charges does sometimes it gives them a way out to, okay, maybe we won't go with the top one, but at least the middle and the second and the third is okay. So you get something. If you just left a one charge that's all or nothing, do you really want to go there? Like the prosecution sometimes doesn't want to all or nothing. And then the defense definitely doesn't want all or nothing. They want to give the jury some options that they can, decide. So even though there's 3 charges, let's say, for example, it was in New York and he was charged with murder in the 2nd degree, manslaughter in the 1st degree, and whatever, criminally negligent homicide, those 3. The judge is going to give them the instruction that you start with the first count first, the murder. If you should find that the people prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt for all the elements of murder in the 2nd degree, then you don't have to go to manslaughter because they convicted on the top charge. So they will get instructions from the court as to how to deliberate the charges. If they find not guilty on the top one, then move on to the second one and move on to the third one. So the judge, those were the instructions that the judge gave them today before they went out to deliberate. So that's the other reason why it takes a long time. You got to understand all that legal mumbo jumbo that the judge is telling you. You still got to figure out the facts and everything else. So that's why, it takes some time. But I think that nobody wanted an all or nothing, because that's either, that's a win or a lose. And, you want to give them some options. So that's what's going to be happening.
And I think sometimes when you speak to jurors after trials, you'll realize that notwithstanding the fact that the judge said go to 1 first and then to 2 and then to 3, some will start at 3 and then they'll look at 2. And then what you find is that everyone is trying to compromise, somewhere in between, because that's just human nature. Human nature is that you're going to look at whatever is put in front of you and then start discussing it. So if indeed they followed only what the judge said, I think you get a much faster verdict. But I think it's important to look at, the judge's instructions and the readbacks that they're going to be looking for, if any, because that you can really tell what they're asking for, what direction they're going in, and things of that nature. Because sometimes, depending on what they ask, you can say, oh, okay, they already passed the top charge. Now they're asking questions about the lower charge, which you start getting nervous about. So that's what we have to pay attention.
But I tell you, after all of that, you still don't know what they're talking about.
Well,
you
don't know
what they're doing. Because I've talked to them after they've done what they've done. It was like, well, why did you ask this? Oh, well, this one juror wanted to just make sure it was such and such. Everybody's thinking, oh my God, they must be going in this direction. And it's something totally different. So you just don't know. We just won't know until they come back. We just won't know.
DA, how do you feel in the midst of this? Because as a DA, as I keep saying, there's a lot of people don't understand. They always think when you get arrested, oh, you're going down to the courthouse, the DA going to throw you in now. That's the talk you hear. They don't understand the process, because you as the DA now fighting for peace and doing all that you're doing as the DA, we think you have so much work to do, but you still got to focus on the community and peace within us, the officers, and the good officers are also suffering for the bad, But where do you go from here tomorrow when you wake up and you see the young people on the street just looking at the TV, waiting with their bats and waiting to hear the verdict, to just, how do we continue to put the word out there that we need them to just cooperate with the police. We don't want to see this fighting. As I watched one young man who threw something in an officer's face. I think they said it was bleach.
Yeah, yeah, Molotov cocktail. You mean over the
Right.
weekend? Yeah.
Yes. So I'm trying to figure out how do we deal with these issues with so much anger?
But I think that we have to work on that even outside of this trial. We really have to work on building some kind of trust between the police and the community. And it works with the police having to understand the community that they're serving, that not everybody in the community is bad, just like not every police officer is bad. But it's changing a culture, it's changing the way that people think. That's on the community side as well as the police side. And we just have to be able to do more. Look, there's a lot of people talking about defund the police, they hate the police, stuff like that. But I'm out in the community. And in the communities where I live, where I hear gunshots from my house and I'm the DA, the people in my neighborhood, they want the police around to get them people that are shooting them guns at each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily the police shooting at those times. You know, we got some separate issues here. We have issues with the police and how they do their policing and the enforcement. And you get the incidents of the George Floyd and the Dante Wright, and we don't ever want to see any of those incidents. And we need to do more with their training and the way they think and how they look at the community to help reform and make those things better. But at the same time,
can I say this to what you just said about defunding, because it seems to rub law enforcement the wrong way. And let's put it in its perspective. And I'm gonna give a scenario, something that we all can relate to. Say, DA, I hired you as a plumber to fix my plumbing. I call you, I say, I got a broken pipe. You tell me, oh, Captain, I could fix it. I said, well, what you going to charge me? He said, I'd do it for about 150. I said, listen, I'm getting ready to leave the house. I'm going to write you a check and just lock the door. I come back, turn on the water, pow, the pipe busted. Okay, I'm going to call you. I get your answer service. Call you again, get your answer. Call you the third time. I say, you know what? I'm calling Chase Bank. I'm going to stop payment on check. Now, to stop the payment on check, I'm going to get a phone call. Hey, Cap, I tried to cash that check. You stopped paying. I said, well, listen, you didn't fix my plumbing. Oh, Cap, I was out the country. I didn't hear my phone. I said, okay. The fact that I stopped the payment got your attention. Now, we're not talking about defunding the police because they're doing a great job. We talked about, I don't have the power to stop funding or stop my taxpayer dollars on a police department that ain't catching the bad guy. A police department ain't reducing crime and violence. A police department that ain't treating this customer or client, as my man called client, with such disrespect. Why would I continue to pay for a service I don't get? So since I can't stop payment on check, defund you. Oh, now I got your attention. I got your attention. You give me quality service. You give me quality work. Then you don't have to worry about defund me. This is the client's or the customer or the taxpayer's only way to say to a police department that served the Jewish community with the same taxpayer dollars, and they don't have the problem, the Asian community, the Irish community. Don't you think we deserve the same quality of service? And if we want to measure the effectiveness of law enforcement, should they not be measured in the reduction of crime? Should they not be measured in the ability to solve crime? Don't ask the community to help you. You ain't spending your check with us. I think it's very unfair for law enforcement to say, we need the community help. No, you didn't say that when you joined the department, when you got your gun here. But, well, I'm going to be a police officer only if the community help me. No. You didn't say that. So now all of a sudden you can't solve it. Now you want our help for free. And we are your clients, we are your customer, and we deserve the same quality of service. If you're not fixing the problem, I want my money back. That's just plain and simple. We don't want to defund you. We just want service. That's all. Don't kill your client. Don't shoot your customer down. And then you want me to tip you and pay you. I don't go to no restaurant and pay for bad quality service and I'm going to give you a tip. Get out of here. So so we need to make it clear to law enforcement. We're not asking to defund you just to be asking that. We're asking you if you do your job, then we don't want to defund you. But this is our only way of saying stop payment on check. Now we got your attention. Give us quality service. Give us the same quality. And we don't want you to talk to us like we're a community because why? Our community is too diverse. You never get to total participation of what you call stakeholders. You get 30% of the people with you. You may get the clergy, you may get the old woman, but you ain't never got the other 70%. So let's stop dealing with it as a community, but deal with all of us as a customer. When you deal with us as a customer, that makes all of us equal. Now, we do have bad customers. I've been in restaurants with people cussing, so we got some bad characters. All right? We do have bad customers. And guess what? And the customer ain't always right. But you know what we deserve? We deserve you to understand that the uniform that you wear, we paid for that. The guns and all that around the belt, we paid for that. That training that you get, guess what? We paid for that. So shouldn't we deserve the quality of service? Don't put protect and serve on the side of your car, and that's for white people, and all you serve us is a warrant and a daggone ticket and sometime a good ass whooping. No, you got on the other side of the car for us, occupy and contain. We not asking no more, sis, than with every other community who paid their taxes, the same quality of service. If we don't get it,
yes,
no,
and
I appreciate that.
go ahead. Go ahead, DA.
No, I appreciate the way he's explained it, and that is a good way of putting it. People don't necessarily articulate it as well as you did, Captain. But I understand the sentiment, and you're right. The police department they do need to understand that, and those are the tough and the real conversations that need to be had. That's the only way we're going to have the reform is when they can understand how we are looking at it, or how they are looked upon, so that they can understand instead of just always defending what you're doing. Stop and listen to what the person is saying to you. This man here is telling you, I pay for a service, I'm not getting it. What are we going to do about this? If I'm going to stop payment on my check, what are you going to do to make up for that, to make sure that you can get paid? You got to treat me with respect. You got to give me the service that I need, etc., etc. So you're right. Those are the tough conversations we need to have. But you got to have a department that's willing to admit that things have gone wrong, to admit that there's need for reform, and to admit that we need to sit down together and figure out what that reform looks like, what you think you should get for the money that you've been paying, and whether or not that's reasonable in light of what they're required to do. So it's a give and take, and these are the real conversations. And if we're not going to do that as a city, there's not going to really be any reform. There's not.
That's right.
There's really
that's
not.
right.
There's really
But
not.
my main concern is the young people, is reaching the young people. That's my concern. Attorney Hugh Campbell.
No. I think that's a very good point. And Aaron, when you say reaching the young people, I think one of the things we have to do is encourage some of these young folks to understand that the police department is our police department, and they can actually sign up to become police officers. Because I've seen quite a few young people that I've encountered over the years, and they, for whatever reason, they just want to be police officers, and they join the force. And if we have more officers in the precincts, the officers from the community in the precincts, and I think we have a much better line of communication than just bringing folks from outside. We can bring folks from inside who become community partners. because, and I always say that, I remember my first encounter with a police officer, which was a pleasant encounter, but it wasn't, it was just, I was just hanging out in the neighborhood, and he just happened to walk by with his baton, and we started chatting. And, it's like we kept in contact. As a matter of fact, we still keep in contact to this day. And because, he was an officer and I was just hanging out with somebody on the sidewalk, and we were just sitting there chatting, doing nothing. But he walked right up and we engaged in a conversation. We talked about just everyday stuff. He asked me what I did, and I told him, I was a lawyer. He looked at me, he laughed and said, "No, you're not no lawyer." And I gave him my card. And believe it or not, he said, "I'm going to use it if I want you." And I didn't believe him. But about 2.5 years later, he called me on something, and we actually became very good friends. And I even think about one of our good friends who passed away a couple of years ago that was in the North Bronx, Bobby Rivers. He was a retired detective, but Bobby was, when it came to holding police officers accountable and making sure that the youngsters would do what they had to do and they would not run into problem with police officers, that was something he did on a constant basis. And I think that because there was always communication between retired police officers and the youngsters and the police department, because there was that bridge. Don't write a ticket for this person. Don't do anything. Let's figure out let's talk about it.
Yeah, but I think one of the problems is that who wants to become a cop when all you see is this, a George Floyd situation, and you see all of this stuff. Some of them don't want to do it. Look, I have the very same issue with people wanting to be prosecutors. I think it's important to have a Black woman as a prosecutor. Understands the community.
We happy to have you.
Yeah, that I grew up here and I know what it's like or whatever. I can make a difference because I see things through a different lens. But
That's right.
I need to still convince other Black lawyers to want to be prosecutors. When this George Floyd thing happened, you got to see the turmoil that was happening in my office. I got Black lawyers wondering, am I doing the right thing? Am I complicit in all of this? They were doubting themselves and the choices that they've made in the work that they do. And should I still be doing this? And I had to say to them, it is now more than ever that you need to be there to make sure that the right thing is happening. So, you got to constantly feed the soul of those people that are going to step up and take these jobs. Police officers, Black police officers, officers of color, prosecutors, everybody, because it's not an easy job. Look, my job is 24/7. I got a lot of decisions to make, and I try to do the right thing, but everybody ain't always going to be happy with me. But at least I'm here to do it, because if it was somebody else, you might be getting a totally different result, or you might be getting the same result, but you might trust me more to make the decision that comes out the way that it does, because I'm going to explain to you why I did it and how I got there. And it's going to have some of the things that you can understand and know that I did take into consideration those things that matter to you as a Black person in our community, because I have a shared and lived experience as well. So, it's a tough job. And changing the culture and the way people think is very difficult.
I want to say this, to credit it to you, and it seems like we the only people have to apologize because we want a Black DA, all Black police officers, Black judges, and everybody else got their own kind. But when it comes to us, we got to some kind of apologize and feel we need a diverse. No, what's wrong? You go to Chinatown. Look at the majority of the cops in Chinatown. Chinese. It makes sense. If you want to be able to understand the cultural nature, now remember, Black people have what we call adapted culture. This ain't our culture. We have adapted this culture since we've been in America. We didn't come over here with this culture. So we had adapted this culture, which is really a self-destructive behavior culture. And when you talk about the youth, listen, you don't send a 3-year-old into the store and let them pick what they want if you the adult. They're gonna get all the candy, they're gonna get all the cookies. Now put that back. But you asking young people to make decisions that they're not mature enough to make without adult supervision. I'm not saying that our young people are mentally disabled to do that, but the challenges that they have is so overwhelming. You can't expect them to make right decisions. So of course they need to be brought along. Who's going to bring them along but us? And let me say this about our young people. Don't let us keep talking about they need to be taught, they need to be trained. I believe the best way to train our youth is to give them an incentive to learn. If you say, listen, for every one of y'all who go through the peacekeeper training, which is my organization, and become a peacekeeper, go through that six component training, you're gonna get $150 if you go through a 6-hour training. They're gonna be lined up like planes on the runway. All right? Incentive is always the best tool to draw our youth. And with the money that Biden is talking about releasing, the $5 billion to deal with gun violence, gun safety, mental health issues, well, we in a position to say, okay, we could pay young people to learn how to respect authority. Look at here. When I say respect authority, I'm not talking about just the police. We got to teach them to respect their parents. We got to teach them to respect the elderly. We got to teach them to respect their teachers. We got to teach them to respect themselves. That's our job. That ain't the police job. The lady had a 13-year-old kid out after 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. Nobody saying nothing to their mother because she's grieving. But the question is, how come your child out at 13 years old, 2 o'clock in the morning? Mama, come on now. After a while, we got to address our own social problems. And we can't put our head in the ground and act like we all that in the bag of chips. We got issues. And let's get behind closed doors, not on social media, and talk about them.
Amen. Amen. And that's what I did. So as we went through coming out of COVID and we going through all this upticking violence and stuff, I went straight to these young people. Some of them gang involved, some of them not. And police will throw them all in one category, and it's not always so. But I live in the community and I know the difference. I went to all of them and said, look, this gun violence has got to stop. You can't blame this on the police. We get people shooting now. They shooting at each other. Both sides got guns now. How we get here? They not selling guns on 161st Street. Okay, these guns are coming in here some kind of way. We need to get to the bottom of that. But as I addressed the young people, I sat down and said, look, I come from the same community. I am the DA. I have a lot of resources and I got a lot of power and discretion in the work that I do. You tell me, what do I have to do for you to make you put that gun down? You tell me that and I'll make sure you get it. And all you got to do is put the gun down for me to do it. That's how I've been addressing it. And they're like, you know what? I never heard anybody say it like that. All right, so come on, let's have the conversation. What do you need? I know what the problem is. I'm looking at the hot spots where I'm seeing the violence. And when I look there ain't no libraries there. There ain't no the gym is closed. The community center is closed. All of these things are not there. When you change that environment that they have around them and ask them what they want and what they need, just tell me, and I'll try to make it happen. And we got enough. New York is very well resourced. If we really knew what people needed and spent the money and put it there, you talk about defund the police. Okay, fine. Remove those resources because listen, the NYPD and the Bronx DA should be the last resort, not the first resort. When somebody's in a mental health crisis, you shouldn't have to call the police. You should be able to call those mental health professionals that can help that person out of that crisis. A family shouldn't pick up the phone, see their loved one in crisis, and have to decide, if I pick up this phone and the cops come, Am I going to see my loved one get killed by the police? Because that happens. They shouldn't have to do that. But put the resources where they need to be. If that's where the money should go, put it there. The cops will be fine with not having to answer those things. Because that's one less interaction that they have to have with the community that can go wrong. We need to have them have interactions that are positive and less interactions where things can go terribly wrong. So that's why I'm having a conversation with the young people. What do you want? What do you need? They're not used to anybody giving them the power over themselves.
Go ahead.
That's
sis.
what they need to get the power back to themselves. They never had it. They don't even know that they have it. We got to teach them that they have it and that they can decide their own destiny, but they got to be able to speak up for themselves and know what it is that they want. And, stop dealing with this no snitch culture and all that. Like that is a problem, a community problem that we need to deal with. I can't solve some of these crimes. The police can't because people are not cooperating. They're retaliating against each other. And that's why I can't solve anything because nobody will cooperate. I want to hold people accountable that killed that 1-year-old child. You know what I mean? That senior who was just sitting in her window, in the projects. But I can't do it if nobody talks or nobody tells. That's a problem that we have.
Come on.
But you know what? It's like it's like everywhere you turn, there used to be something on the subway. It say you see something, say something.
Mm-hmm.
People are saying they're afraid because they have to face the criminals and they don't want to be seen. How else can it be done? Because there was a time when they said when you call, you don't have to say your name, but then how do you get the evidence in the courtroom without me coming forward?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me answer that.
Go ahead.
Let me answer that. I totally agree with what the DA said. There is a mistrust. We have a black wall of silence, like the police got blue wall of silence. Police don't hand over their corrupt criminals. They protect their a-holes, and we do same. All right. Somebody got to break both walls down. All right. Now, since we don't trust law enforcement, we had one of our peacekeepers, sister was killed in Cleveland, Ohio, and no homicide detective did any work. And what we used to see on television, knock on the doors, ask, that didn't even happen. Mm-hmm. And so I had peacekeepers come in from all across the country, and we got the picture of the woman that was killed, and we went into that neighborhood and knocked on the door. And guess what? Because we wasn't the police, they talked to us. Yo, my man, come on in, man. Just don't tell nobody. I know who X, Y, and do. But they're not talking to the police. But they will talk to us. And as long as they know that we come with a sincere intentions, they want to tell. Don't ever think black folks don't want to tell. They go in the barber shop and tell every day long. They telling the barber who shot Ray Ray. He's cutting the hair. You know who shot Ray Ray? The barber said, you know, you cut his hair the other day. Negroes
That's
talk.
what I say that at meetings all
talk.
the time. I say that at meetings all the time. I say, look, when something happened on your block or in your neighborhood, we all know who did it. I tell them that, and they be like, I said, well, you got to help me help you. How am I supposed to get this done if I don't know? How am I supposed to get the evidence? Video is great. We got a lot of video stuff going on, and some of our people presume innocent and not intelligent sometimes because they put everything on social media, So, I mean, we can figure it out that way, but it'd be easier if people want to make sure, look, we got to hold this person down. They should not have killed Miss Jones. She's an innocent bystander. I got to beef with you. You got to beef with me. But look, Miss Jones got killed. That one, we're going to have to get back. We got to make sure we clear that up. And whatever beef we have, we need to learn how to work that out so we're not killing each other. Because at the end of the day, nobody wins when I prosecute and I got one in jail, put them on trial to get life in prison, and I got one that's being buried in the cemetery. Nobody wins there. Nobody in our community wins when we keep doing it.
You want to convict Chevron. You want to convict Chevron for putting his knee and killing Floyd. Well, what about the brother that killed Mrs. Jones and the 3-year-old? Don't we want to see them convicted too? have the same energy and the same attitude
Yes.
of giving up one who's he got to take one for the team. I'm sorry, we're not covering you, partner. You know the rules. You absolutely shot so, but we got to hand you over. That's just the way it is. Because we told you we don't kill children and we don't kill innocent people. So, partner, this ain't snitching. This is getting you over, and we hand you over. I believe that our community would do this if there's men that would guarantee the safety and protection. And if Miss Jones go to court to testify, and she walk in there with 25 strong brothers talking about if anything happened to Miss Jones or her family, we're gonna run through you Negroes like Brent run through Virginia. Do y'all hear me?
Right.
We know who y'all are. We went to school with your mama. Y'all can't, you can be touched. And so that's how we got to do it. They want protection in the same way in the law enforcement community. You could come up with a policy and tell the police officer that it's okay to tell on a corrupt cop. But if you ain't tore down that blue wall of silence, he ain't telling. I don't give a doggone how many policies, because that blue wall of silence is so strong to be walking in there and they calling you a rat, a do-gooder, you don't get backup. The cops don't have no protection. So you have to not punish them for not turning in a corrupt cop. You have to reward them for turning in the corrupt cop. Because if they don't do that, then you know the old saying, one bad apple spoils the whole barrel.
Yep. That's
Well, yeah, we're here and we're talking, and listen to me. DA, I always try to stress this for those who don't understand. Yes, Caroline Clark, we have the problem in Oklahoma too. Yes, and as Tisha Hatch say, we need community affairs like when we grew up. But I thought that's why we have the NCOs, the community cops that goes out and know the community and know the people. Those what I think the NCOs are for.
No, they are, but I mean, the captain is right. I mean, we can't depend on the police to do what we need to be doing ourselves. We really do. We need to do this ourselves. There was a time where we did handle it ourselves. The police didn't have to get involved.
That's
We
right.
called the police when we really, really needed them. We took care of this other stuff. Now, every little thing, people are calling the cops, and it's just another incident where the police can have a bad interaction with somebody in the community and things go terribly wrong. We need to back this up and bring it back to ourselves. I would love to see something like that where I have a witness that I really need to come forward to get somebody, and to see some brothers come and say, we are protecting this person and y'all better not do that. And it's not the police.
Come on now.
If you could come and set that up in Bronx, Captain, I love you forever, because that's what I need right now. I'm gonna tell you, that's what I need right now.
And we will, sister.
Let's do it. That's what we need. And again, you don't have to have the police, but it'll help them. Help us make the case, get the evidence, etc., and to hold these people accountable. That are, they're taking over these bad apples are taking over our community. We belong here. They're the ones that should be feeling uncomfortable. You shouldn't feel empowered to walk around with a gun and shoot people anytime you want, because they stepped on your new Jordans or whatever. Like, that's stupid. We shouldn't be doing that. But that's what's happening. Nobody's saying anything. And
that's not normal behavior.
And I think that the way the young people are today, and not just the young people, but people on a whole are today. Everybody have an issue. Everybody have a temper today. You can't say the wrong thing to anybody anymore. Because if you even try to tell someone what they're doing wrong, if you don't watch it, the fight starts. So we don't know how to, we don't know how to approach. And the thing about it, young people themselves are angry, they're bitter, they're fed up. The minute you say something, I was speaking to a gentleman today, he said, oh, you speak just like a cop, you're around them too much. And that's a problem that I have, because you are not supposed to say, well, your friend is wrong. You're supposed to say the cop is wrong. But you call a spade a spade. If the person is wrong, some of us, the cop pull you over. Oh, why you pull me over now? Because I'm black? And that's how it starts. Everything now is about the color of the skin when a cop pull you over.
But I think, okay, I'm sorry.
One of the things the captain said, I think one of the things that happens, which is important, is that before, when somebody did something, they wanted you to talk to them, because if you didn't talk to them, you're going to go call their parents, and they didn't want the parents to get involved because they know there were consequences. But I think now there are no consequences at home. So that's one of the fundamental problems that we see. There are no consequences at home. And honestly, I would prefer to see the consequences at home before the police gets involved.
That's right.
I would like to see those consequences, because when the police gets involved, then it becomes deadly and problematic. Let the parents, take control and start disciplining and doing what needs to be done. And when I say discipline, I'm not talking about corporal punishment. I'm talking about just sitting somebody down and saying, look,
sometimes that's what it means. That's what stopped us from doing what we did.
My mom used to look at my mom. I can show you better than I can tell you.
But no, you have to, and I share something, because I remember I had a client once that had a problem with her son. And she called me up one day and she said, Lawyer Campbell, I got a problem with my son. What can you do? And I said to her, very honest, I said, look, I'm going to tell you right now. I said, I get out of church at 9:30 in the morning, Sunday morning. I said, could you meet me in the office about 10:30 before you go to church? She said, yeah. I said, okay, come and bring your son with you. Mm-hmm. And she came in the office Sunday morning. We sat down and we talked, because, again, it was important. And I said, now take the kid to church with you, because I wanted her to understand, and I wanted he to understand how important it is to listen to his parent and to understand that the street is not all what it's cracked up to be. Yeah. And sometimes we have to talk to them, and we have to talk to them. And if a parent has a problem, we have to encourage them. Find some resources for the child. Don't wait until it becomes a major problem where the police become involved, and then it's
they coming to see me. Yeah. But that's the thing. But these kids growing up too, you give them a trophy for 8th place and all this other stuff. They need to learn how to earn things, to build themselves up. And they threatening their parents. I'm gonna call child welfare on you. What? Go ahead. Here's the number. Let me see them give you that PlayStation, and you ain't getting none of that. So go ahead. Here's the number. I'll dial it for you. They're gonna think
and they're gonna dial on the phone that you pay for, that the parent pays for.
The kids are in control now. It's not the parents. The parents are being more of the children friends. And my son is 24, and I was telling someone the other day, I don't know if he knows what it is to be out after midnight. I don't know if he understands what it is to go to a party or a club, because I didn't raise them that way. And when they're out, they say, at 10 o'clock, you see the text coming in, Mom, I'm on my way home. And the first question, how did you get home? You walk in the street? No, Mom, I took a taxi. But it's all depends on what you do in your household, determine how your children respond to you. The parents become the kids' friends, the best friends. You watch it on social media. So don't you dare tell them the kid's not dressed right or the kid's not acting right, because as long as they approve of what the kid's doing, you better shut up. So that's where we got to start, is in the home, because even now with what you're doing with the peace and the verdict, parents got to talk to their kids. And I think it's a message we need to send to parents. Just educate your kids. Tell them, because you can't see my son going to leave the house and say he's going downtown, because when this verdict come in, it's on. And then you call me to tell me my son is arrested because he attacked an officer. And you're going to call me to say, Mom, I've been arrested. Why? Because I hit an officer because we were protesting. Then you stay down there and you deal with the DA and the attorney and everybody you got to deal with. Because you know what? I didn't taught you that. I didn't raise you that way. Mm-hmm. So
but let me say this. Everybody on here, remember, once upon a time, you used to hear about parents giving children allowances. You didn't give your child allowance for nothing. They had to earn an allowance, right? If they did X, you cleaned your room, you did your chores, that's incentive. We call it incentive. Now, what Attorney Campbell said, consequences. We want police officers to have consequences. We want transparency, right? We want accountability, right? We want consequences for their actions of disobeying company policy, right? Well, how come we don't want that the same on our side of the fence?
Yeah.
We want accountability, right? We want transparency, right? We want consequences for your disrespecting the policy and the norms and the values of the community. We have not established that. We have to come together, put aside our religious differences, put aside our racial differences, put aside our social differences, and men and women come together and we establish new norms. Norms mean established rules of conduct and behavior. We have to do it. We never told a young man on the corner, hey, yo, 10 grown men walk through the door and said, yo, my man, it's unacceptable behavior you refer to our women as bitches. You understand that, young man? It's unacceptable behavior that when our elderly comes by, that you disrespect it. See, that's unacceptable behavior. And the consequences of that is X, Y, and Z. We never did that. You know why? We scared of our own children. We scared to tell them. They waiting for us to come to them and put them in check status. And we walk around here like we tiptoeing like they some foreigners, some Taliban, some ISIS on our community, when that ain't nobody but Ray. I went to school with his mama, his daddy. I know his pop. We used to drink at the tavern together. They're not foreigners. Children don't care what you know. They just want to know that you care. And like you said, they want somebody. If we want to say to the DA, we come to you, we say, look at sis, we want to have an alternative incarceration. If we bring this guy who has charges, are you willing to cut a deal and say, you know what, young man, the state is willing to drop the charges or suspend you for right now if you wind up becoming a peacekeeper or you wind up joining life camps. We're going to give you 60 days. And if 60 days you don't work, we're going to remand your behind back to the court and give you what we said. At least have an alternative. So that way it makes your job so much easier. So that's like being in the army. So if you give them the Captain Dennis, they may want to do some time, then you turn them over to me. I think I do the 3 years. You turn me over to Captain D. Man,
yeah, we need to come up with solutions. We need to come up with that.
And I say 60 days, and brother, you're not gonna make our program not successful. I'm sorry, brother. Too many people need this to be successful. So get up in the morning. We're gonna make a bed, and this we're gonna do. Put you on the corner, the same corner that you used to terrorize people. We're gonna put an orange shirt on you. They're gonna say, "I'm present for peace." Now you're gonna escort the old lady across the street, and we watching you. All right, you got 60 days, and if you act up, we're gonna turn you back on the DA. Say, you know what? It just didn't work out. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. We're going to sentence you, Your Honor. We want to remand him back to. See, we want to help you, DA, to have an alternative. We can't save everybody, but there are some of them that really want to be saved.
Absolutely.
You're right. And I've been doing it, and I need more of it. I want to think out the box every single day. The more options, the better. That's what I'm trying to do. Thank you.
And we're with you. And let me ask you a question. How many years can a DA serve?
Well,
how many terms?
We say,
lifetime.
No, please don't say that. No, it's the term is every 4 years, but there's no term limits for DAs in the state of New York. In the state offices, there's no term limit. In the city elected offices are term limited. So they only can do a maximum of 8 consecutive years, and then they have to come out. But a state and DAs are state officials. Even though we serve by county, there's 62 counties in the state. So I'm a state elected official, so there's no term limit on me. So every 4 years I have to run.
Well, we got to make sure that the work you start is finished. We don't want to hear that she started it and someone else finished it. No, we're not going to have that. We're not going to have that.
Also,
so tomorrow.
I just want to answer. Tomorrow, I'm having a press conference on the step of Bronx Borough Hall. That's on the Grand Concourse on 161st Street at 12 o'clock. Meeting with a number of community stakeholders to say that we want to see justice for George Floyd with this verdict, and we want peace. And they're all going to stand there, and we're going to announce the different events that we're going to be hosting the day of the verdict so that people can have a safe
Beautiful.
space. So if anybody wants
Beautiful.
to be at 12 noon, Bronx Borough
Beautiful.
Hall, 851 Grand Concourse, that's 161st Street and the Grand Concourse. Please be there and show your
Also
support
known
to your
as
community.
also known as the Supreme Court building.
Also known as the Supreme Court building, yes.
I guess Attorney Hugh Campbell going to be there with his mask on.
Yes,
Well,
everybody
DA,
has to wear a mask.
DA, I don't know, but we got to make sure we give you a good herbalist and somebody who could keep your immune system up and keep you energized and moving, because it's a lot of stress that you're under, whether we see it or we don't believe it. Just to be the DA in a time like this is a lot of work. So we have to pray for you. We have to support you. We have to stand behind you. Even if I got to call Dennis all the way in Ohio and say, we need some backup up here.
Well, when you come, you got to come visit me in the Bronx. We need to sit down and talk.
Oh no, we coming to New York, and we coming to New York in June. Erica is making it so that I'm coming there in New York for 6 months to work with training the men. Also training, we want to try curriculum that I've designed for the law enforcement community. I'm not going to do the training. I got some top former police chiefs who have got the curriculum. They want to come in and test out this new customer service training. It's called we call it technical communication customer service training. It's a training that does more in teaching them how to serve a community that is so diverse, and at the same time, we're training the community on how to respect them. So you can't have a marriage and only one partner comes to the table. So they feel good to know. You mean to tell me they're getting training too? Yes, they are. Yeah. Oh, okay. Then now we can have a real relationship now. Too. And that's what we're talking about.
Well, April, you can give him my information and I'll get his, and let's talk before you get here in June and see that we could be able to sit down when you come. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Come up to the Bronx and see me.
That's right. He will be in the Bronx. That's right. And definitely I will be making sure to do that. And Attorney Hugh Campbell, I don't know, as an attorney, I had to sit down and wonder how you, as an attorney, sit down and watch a case like that and have to support someone that you know is guilty. And you're saying, well, my client and my client.
Attorney Campbell don't do criminal. That's why he don't criminal. He don't do no criminal.
No.
Hugh's a money man. Hugh is the community lawyer. Every church has Hugh Campbell as their lawyer. Okay, every community organ, every NAACP, National Council of Negro, Hugh Campbell is their guy. Okay,
you better don't talk too loud because Cheryl DeWitt is watching.
Oh, that's right. She know. Hugh is their lawyer, so that's it. You don't do no criminal.
But I think it's important that we, because even when you look at the community as a whole, we do have to engage. And too often, a lot of professionals like us, we get a degree and then we just disappear. But you got to stay, because if we don't stay, who is here to talk to the young ones? And I'm going to share something very important because it just happened this past week. There's a young man in the neighborhood, and every time I would see him, I said, when you going to law school? When you going to law school? So he was says, I got to take the bar. I got to take the bar. So I'd be like beating him over the head. So he took the bar. So last week I sent him, I get all these scholarships, and I sent him the scholarship, and he just wrote me back and says, oh, thanks for the scholarship information. He's now in law school. And I said, and he's getting ready to take the finals. So he says, oh, I'm getting C pluses. And so I said, look, don't worry about what you're getting. Two things you got to do. You got to graduate and pass the bar. That's all you really need to do, because he's worried about A's. I said, graduate and pass the bar, you'll be okay. But this is what we have to do in our communities, because it's more than just, talking, but we've got to snatch one, snatch two, snatch three, and put them in the right direction. Because I can't do it alone. We all can do it collectively.
Well, we're going to bring Dennis Mohammed all the way from Ohio. He's coming back to New York. I know he loves New York. So Dennis, get your New York. That's right. Get your New York hat back, because the DA needs some assistance up here. Just putting some things together that can work here in the borough of the Bronx.
Well, we're going to keep, and listen here, Attorney Campbell, you ain't out the mix either now. Everybody need a good lawyer. I know you ain't a criminal lawyer, but a lot of these young men You can help them understand their case if they got a warrant. You can help us to be the go-between with her and the DA, represent them, and to see us three working together. She know whoever we bring, we already done vet them. We putting our reputation on them. And that would make other parents say, well, listen, boy, y'all need to call so-and-so. They got so-and-so, but he's doing good now. So we need to work as a team. I believe we got something. Nobody gonna help us but us. And I don't care what the police do. You understand? I heard Dr. Umar Johnson made this statement, and his statement is crime and violence is a direct result of unmet social needs. Anytime you go into any community and they have social problems, you're gonna have crime and violence. And the police can't solve it because they're not social workers. It ain't their job to see if your son is home 11 at night. That ain't their job. They hope they don't have to come across your son. But the bottom line, we as parents, we as a community, we got to step up and change the quality of life. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. I did this one time, DA. They said, well, Captain, how are you going to do it? I said, when I walk up to the dope dealer, I don't tell the young brother he can't sell dope. I'm just saying you can't do it here, young man. You can go right in the white neighborhood. If you go now, you be the first over. You got no competition. But brother, you can't do it in front of my grandmama's house. You can't do it in front of the school, young man. You can't do it in front of the church. Do you understand? I can't tell you how to make money. You just can't do it here. That's it. And you know what? They appreciate that. They appreciate that.
Well, so far we kept the DA in an hour and a half here on this show, and I just have to blame Attorney Hugh Campbell and Captain Dennis Mohammed for this.
Well, it was good conversation, though. I don't mind. The time goes by when we're talking, you know, what's best for us. So I don't mind spending the time. So
I'm glad you explained to my.
I am going to jump off now because I'm starving to eat. It's 10:30 at night and I didn't eat. So,
well, you know what? We're going to allow you to jump off, but we thank you for educating the people that they're not going to see a verdict tonight. Because I know Crazy Paula, yes, I know you're sitting there saying, I'm up tonight. I want to see this verdict. And a lot of people have that idea that it was coming in tonight.
No, it wasn't. No. I don't think it's going to come in at night at all. I mean, the judge, again, put on my judge hat, a high-profile case like this, you know, depending on when that verdict comes in, judges might hold it off until the morning, just so it's not rendered at night, you know. So they can control things like that as well. So let's hope they're mindful of that, because you got to get the country prepared when this verdict comes down. It's not just there in Minneapolis; it's the whole country. You know?
That's right.
It's the whole world.
The whole world is watching. Thank you so much, Attorney Darcel Clark.
All right, Captain, pleasure meeting you. I look forward to seeing you when you come to New York. All right?
I'm coming. I'm gonna get with you, girl, for real. All right.
Okay, all right. I'm looking for it. I'm ready.
We're gonna do some remarkable things. Tell your husband I was just joking.
Okay. All right. He made me a nice dinner too, so I'm gonna eat it now. And I'm
go ahead and handle your business, girl.
All right.
Thank you so much, Attorney Dear Clark.
Okay.
Have a safe night. And Attorney Hugh Campbell, we heard it all here, and I know many people sit back and watching and waiting for the verdict to happen. So we just want them to know it's not going to happen tonight, Paula. You can go to bed. And Captain Dennis Mohammed, I mean, you're guilty of coming to New York to get something done, but it's going to be done. And when you come, we have to step into Attorney Hugh Campbell's office too.
Yeah, we will.
We can't let him off the hook.
I'm going to have to holler, is there a lawyer in the house?
Always here.
I don't know where he's going to be, but you're going to just make sure he's there. Can you work all till 3 o'clock in the morning?
Hey, gotta work.
That's right.
I think it's a good discussion, but I think one of the things she was pointing out, because the verdict, they're probably going to try to read it first thing in the morning because they want the whole day light.
That's right.
But they don't want to give a verdict at night because control at night is going to be very difficult.
That's right.
And they're going to give it during the day when everything is totally lit so that they can deal with, whatever is coming as a result of the verdict.
Leon Jones, you heard that. So in the morning, you just got to be careful where you drive or where you at, because you know they're going to be out there waiting just to hear this verdict.
Yep.
And it's a shame that we have to wonder and ask, are we going to have a guilty verdict and, justice going to be served? Who wants to go through this right now during this pandemic? The officers are getting overtime.
Well, that's true.
They're getting overtime, Captain Mohammed. They are
Well,
getting overtime.
But what they don't realize, here's the problem, sis. The cost of one road cop, what it costs, what that one road cop does, and how much millions of dollars. Look at $27 million to settle the case. All of the overtime of all these police officers, the fencing, the barbed wire, the extra National Guard, the boarding up of business. You know how much this costing because one rogue cop decides not to follow policy and take it up on himself to murder a citizen, to murder a client, to murder a customer, and this is the price? Man, he just got to take one for the team. When you talk economics, white folks understand economics. When they begin to start saying, you know what, it is costing us a lot of money, and they even though it should be the criminal and the evidence, but sometimes you got to remind them the price they pay. There you go. That seems to get, when they begin to realize how much it costs to incarcerate one black man in the prison, and you show them the dollar signs of where they're coming, they begin to say, oh, hell to the no.
Mm-hmm.
We're paying $260,000 a year to keep this dude. Oh, no. When you show them the economic burden that they pay, man, please. Not only, go ahead.
Now, I was going to say one thing that there was a study that was done many years ago in the city about all these police cases. And I think one of the things you said, they paid out $20-something million on that Floyd case. And I don't know if it's the same way there, but I know that in the city, for example, when they were paying out these settlements on police cases, well, not just police cases, any settlement the city pays out, it comes out of the general budget and not out of the budget of the particular department. So even though you would have had a very high payout regarding police misconduct, the police department really wasn't feeling it because it wasn't coming out of their budget. Right. Now, what they need to do is to change that so that each department, each department should be responsible. So if you have, for example, if you paid out $28 million out of the police department, then that should come out of your budget. So whoever is in charge is going to say, you know what? If indeed we don't get rid of these bad apples, we won't have any money to operate. That's how they should do it. That's exactly that we should be pushing.
That should be in police reform. We need to put that in police reform.
Absolutely.
I like that. You know,
let them pay for their own lawsuit.
Yeah, comes out of everything because you know what?
Sure?
DOT. If you hit a pothole, it should come out of DOT's budget, not out of the general budget, because many times they don't even know how much money was paid out because of their lack of service and their misconduct.
I like that, man. And let me tell
you. Well, let me ask you a question, as Captain Dennis say. That should be in there. So who do you speak to about that? Senator John Bailey?
No. That's a city council issue because they're the ones that actually would fund the police and so forth. But I'm just saying, if you know you have one cop that is costing you a whole lot of money out of your budget, you're gonna get rid of that cop.
He ain't worth it. He just ain't worth it. And let me add to what you're saying, attorney. See, what happens is you can look, and I got this from my police friends. There has never been no sergeant demoted for mismanagement of the men and women under them. Right. You always get the rank of file but the supervision. So nobody go after the supervision. What happened to the sergeant? Wait a minute, man. They was under you. And they didn't. No, you got to go too. But when the sergeant loses his stripe and get demoted, I guarantee you all of that madness is going to stop, because the sergeant, he sets the trend for how these police officers behave. In the movie, and this is a true story, in law enforcement, as soon as the police officers come out of the academy, they get with the FTO, field training officer, or they get with sergeant. The first thing the sergeant said to the new recruit, everything you learn in the academy, throw that crap in the back seat, because we don't use it. So all of the training that the taxpayer paid for, that one sergeant told him it don't mean. And then he says, and wipe that damn smile off your face, because you're going to get us killed. And I was watching Training Day for the second time, and that's exactly what Denzel Washington said to the rookie. You know, take that smile off your face. Everything that you learn, it don't work out here on the street. So what we see is, we see the rank and file police officer. This is the problem ever they got in New York. I talked to Erica. They can get the brass talking about, we want a relationship and this is what we're going to do, but it does not translate down to the rank and file cop, because now the rank and file cop, he's still acting the fool. Either they're sending mixed signals out to the rank and file cop, or the rank and file cop felt emboldened that he's going to be backed by a sergeant. So for Chevron to put his knee on my man's neck, he felt confident he was going to be backed by a sergeant or a union or a blue wall. He felt too damn comfortable. And most of the times, we don't look at, okay, the rank and file, we got him, who was this sergeant? Oh, you busted too, partner. And I guarantee you, when you start busting them sergeants and taking that rank, they're going to go to roll call and they're going to say, look at you assholes. Any one of you act a damn fool. I'm not losing my stars and stripes on none of you. And I bet you that whole scenario changes.
Yep.
Well, you hear it here tonight from Captain Dennis Muhammad, all the way in Ohio, wearing his cap and his shirt, and soon to wear his New York shirt when he come here to New York. So we're going to be sitting with the district attorney and see what we can do and come up with some plans and ideas to help her. And you and I will be talking before that, Captain Dennis. And you'll make sure you notice what time of night he is. And Hugh Campbell is still in his suit and tie from the courtroom.
That's got off work.
I don't know when he gets comfortable, but if I send him an email at 2:00, he might respond.
Hey, gotta do it.
Oh my goodness. Well, listen, it was nice having both of you here tonight. This is the Avos Show, and we know social media, when we use this platform, Facebook have a tendency to want to not share much of it, but we know after tomorrow they will be sharing it. But when you're going live, they try to cut back on viewership, especially when you're not going through them, but you're using another medium. So I understand now how it works, Facebook. We appreciate you. But we will continue to share this program, because who it doesn't reach tonight, it will reach them tomorrow. I thank you, Dennis, and we'll be talking after the show. Attorney Hugh Campbell, thank you so much for all you do in the Bronx. And as they call him, the bulldog in the courtroom. I say, I don't want to see him walking in. I really don't want to see him walking in, because someone said to me, oh, you need to see him in the courtroom. So let me ask you a question before you go, Hugh Campbell. We have certain attorneys, you see them on the big profile cases, Dennis, standing up. I don't see them in the courtroom when the cases are tried. You know, they want to act as if they're representing every high profile cases. And I said, the proof is there. They have everything they need to try these cases. So it's not like you're going out there and we say, oh my God, he did such a great job. He get the evidence. That the evidence is there already. So they call it high profile case. And this attorney look like, oh man, we love you. We appreciate you. But he really ain't doing nothing. Because when I was watching the case today, and I'm looking at it, and I see the real people who standing there talking. I don't see some of these high profile, and I don't see I say what we need is to see us in the courtroom. You see, when we flat those courtrooms, when you have cases like that, it shows a lot. So when these attorney who say, oh, if you ever been this and this, listen to me, high profile case. I look at a case where a young lady was murdered, and it took years, but that attorney decided, I'm not going to stop until I get the evidence and solve this case. That case reopened, and that man blew that case open and found a guilty verdict. But you have some attorneys that walk around and you hear them talk about police brutality. And I'm not knocking out Sharpton for standing up and looking good. But I'm saying to you, we want attorneys who are going to fight to solve the cases. Because you have so many cases here. Yeah, you have cases here that some attorney would not touch because they don't think they have the time or the energy, or they can do it. They can't solve these cases.
So, in other words, she's saying to you, Mr. Campbell, don't become no Ben Crump.
No, hold on. Who name?
No, I'm just saying we appreciate
Ben
Crump.
Crump.
Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
I just think right now that when you do settlements, that's all right. But most of the time, when you do settlements, the family, they get what they get, and then of course in the settlement, your attorney, they come up with certain rules that the client or the family can't do. That is part of the settlement. Police said you can't join organizations that's anti-police. If you want to sell, you can't make your thing known publicly. And what happens all the time is that the family gets the big money, the attorney get his percentage, but they never donate. This is me, and I could be wrong. To the grassroots organizations that's on the street that's making it happen. And we don't hear no more until they come out. All of them come out and says, hey, no more violence. They wouldn't want this. Every one of them. And I seen the movie American Skin. And in the movie American Skin, that's exactly what the captain did. He went to the woman's house and said, you must go out there and tell the people to calm down. This is part of you getting this settlement. And we're not hearing the people telling the people calm down because they really want to see them calm down. They telling them to calm down. If you want to get the settlement, you got to put a snap to that. Now, I don't have no problem with any one of them getting the people settlement. But look what happened to Tamir Rice. Tamir Rice's mother said, well, where all the noise and y'all coming back to Cleveland, Ohio, and helping me to get this daggone police officer that shot my 12-year-old son who had a toy pistol. Y'all keep bringing up his name, but y'all ain't in Cleveland. Why? Because there's no money in the settlement? Because I got $3? I want that police officer charged with murder. And if the same team that bring the same spirit to Cleveland, Ohio, maybe they could force the hand of the officials to retry that police officer and bring some conclusion to Tamir Rice's mother. That's all I have. And when you hear the people now, they're putting a label out there. I'm not putting that label. They ambulance chasers. One brother said, no, Kevin, not ambulance chasers. They own the ambulance. I said, oh, wow. They ain't no longer chasing. They own it. The bottom line is, let us not be seen that we're more concerned with settlement than we are with conviction. Now, I'm not taking nothing away from them, but the main thing is we want convictions. And sometimes, and you probably a lawyer, you can tell me better than that, sometimes it's better to hold out on the settlement and use it to force the conviction versus get the settlement and now, hey, you got 27 mil. I mean, we get it, y'all. That ain't justice because the person is not alive. But I think if you hold out on the settlement and use the settlement as a bargaining chip for the conviction, you got a better chance getting the conviction than you do the settlement civil right. You're going to always get that. That's my opinion. And I think, you win settlements, but we're not winning convictions. And
we talk about that. We talked about that last night. It's funny you saying that. I was saying, why they get the payout, the big payout, before you get these settlements. And then it just seems so quiet after that. And then you have one more killing again, and we have another killing again, and you see the same attorney jump in as if they're the only attorney that represent these high profile cases. And it's all only boiled down to one thing, a settlement. So what are you really doing to solve these cases? So you see, when you tell me about an attorney, and I said, the attorney don't have to do nothing. But because it's a high profile case, you have so many people following this attorney because they want to hear what's going on. So the attorney's shoulders go up. And in reality, they don't do nothing because the case is going on right now. And if we don't have a verdict, then tell me.
Well, I think what happens is that, and I think, one of the things that the captain said is that most of these cases really don't get settled before the criminal case is over. And the reason why they never get settled, because if you have a civil case, and you sued somebody, that person is not going to testify in a civil case as long as a criminal case is pending, because that's that self-incrimination stuff. So normally what will happen is that they will delay the civil case until the criminal case is over, because as long as that criminal case is going on, you're not going to get that person to testify in a civil case. Now, remember, the case in point, O.J. Simpson, you had the criminal case, and then after the criminal case, you had the civil case. And even though he was acquitted on the criminal case, they still recovered on the civil case. That's because you don't get testimony during the pendency of the criminal case from the party. So if you sue them, they're going to move to stay the civil case.
Thank you so much.
And by the time the case is tried, all the evidence is already there, ready-made from the criminal case. So all you got to do is just pick it up and move it over to the civil case. So there's really
see, there you go. That's why we need attorneys. How you explain that? And you're going to get the civil case. Just hold off. Let's get the criminal case. Because once you get the conviction of the criminal, automatically you're gonna get the civil. That's automatic. You understand? But when you settle the civil case before the criminal, man, you take a whole lot of the game. You take the bargaining chip that we need to force hands. You see, because it makes the DA and the city say, well, listen, if we wind up getting the conviction, how about this settlement? I just think. And I like what you said. That's no indictment on Ben Crump or Sharpton and all that. But listen, man, you never need an attorney to do a settlement. Jesse used to do settlements, and Jesse ain't never been no attorney. All you got to do is go in the room and tell the man, if you don't give us what we want, see all them people out there, they're gonna tear this bad boy down. Well, which one? What you want? And you settle. You don't have to be an attorney to settle. You have to be in a position to tell the people who don't settle, look out the window. Look out the window. Am I right?
Yep.
This is what. Man, we can be here all night, right? Tisha Hatch, we can be here all night, but I think we have so much more to talk about, and we just got to educate the people little by little, baby steps, because a lot of people don't understand how these cases are done in the courtroom. Civil case and criminal case. They don't know the difference and they don't understand. So we'll come back one night where we're going to sit down and break things down step by step. So Captain D, you got some work to do. And if you need an attorney in New York, call attorney Hugh Campbell, man.
I got him. He's my man's in there. He's my man's in there.
That's it. You call an attorney that's going to fight for your rights and going to get justice. But we don't need no more. We have enough attorneys who just go around and settle. We want attorneys who's going to fight for the case.
Yeah, that's right.
We got too many cases.
No money can replace a life. No money can replace a life.
That's right. Gotta fight.
That's
Thank
right.
you. I got to go, F. Girl, I got to go now. Hey, Tony, I'm
Listen,
looking forward to meeting you, my man.
Okay.
thank you
Have
so
a
much,
Pleasure.
awesome
Captain
morning,
D.
baby.
You
All
have a
right.
good
Yeah.
evening. Yes, I'll
Okay.
definitely.
Take
Thank
care.
you so much. Well, Attorney Hugh Campbell, it seems like we're the only one who don't have to go, so we have to act like we have to go too.
Yep, we do.
That's right. Thank you so much for
right.
stopping by, and thank you so much for your expertise. We needed that, and you have a pleasant night. And to all the listeners, thank you for staying up with us.
Okay, and be safe, everyone.
You too.
Good night.
Wear your mask.
Okay.
Good
All
night.
right.